So I am back home, none the worse for wear, except that my hair is crazy. I just got back. I flew in this morning. Well, not this morning. It was supposed to be this morning from the United States, and I experienced the craziest thing I've ever had in any of my travels. So I just had to share it with you guys real quick. Since I know this is nighttime and everybody is gone to bed now on the East Coast, you're going to have to watch this on repeat, I guess, replay. Nobody's about. Okay, so today I flew from Washington, D.C. to Liberia, Costa Rica. Okay, this is a flight I normally take a lot. I gotta turn this thing down, it's blasting me. Blasting me. Okay, better, better, better. Hey, Saturdays. Hey, small town Jewel. Travels went strange. They went well, but they went strange. The travel from Reagan to the airport that I was changing planes, it went real smooth. Everything was smooth. They met me at the door with a wheelchair. They got my bags. They helped me. It was great. And then the flight was quiet. I sat between a priest who was not very talkative. I would have loved to have talked to him about the worship music he was listening to. Oh, Maria, you're gonna laugh at this one. Um, yeah, I made it home okay. So I had to switch planes. And I noticed last night, or was it this morning, I got an email saying that my flight to Liberia from this place where I was changing planes had been delayed. It had been delayed by about an hour. And I thought, well, that's strange, but that's not too bad. I'll be getting there at 1 o'clock, not at the noon they promised us. That was okay still. I let my ride know, hey, you can sleep in an hour more and set off. Took my flight, everything went well, except I was creeping on my neighbors who were not talkative at all. But I guess it was too early. A priest on one side and a nice young lady on the other side working on the MS thing. Okay, so I get to Charlotte to change planes, okay, and think, okay, there's an awful lot of people sitting around the area. It's a full hour before they board. It's just like, angry people standing around. There's a lot of people glaring, 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 glaring. So I finally asked them, I said, why are there so many people here for this flight? It's early and there's a lot. People are like hanging off the chandeliers. They said, well, this morning's flight from Charlotte to Liberia was canceled. A lot of these people are on standby to get on this flight. So I thought, okay, that's pretty weird. So I'm sitting there, minding my own business, reading a new Vanity Fair, when I start hearing curse words, ugly curse words being thrown from down where the plane is, down the hallway, not where we're sitting. And out stomps a crew member from the flight deck. Now, not the captain, I was told later. Shove it. He quit 30 minutes before boarding. And I got to witness this. It was just like horrific moment. But then it got worse because as soon as everybody around me figured out that they were going to have to call somebody else in or cancel this flight, and they did get somebody in, it took about an hour and a half. Oh, the pandemonium broke loose. There were so many angry people, and they were up fighting with. The only reason I got to hear and see everything is being in the wheelchair. I was parked right up front so I could go through first. And so I got to hear it all and see it all. And those poor ladies at the front desk, they were trying their damnedest. A lot of people who were booked on the flight I was on got mad and stomped off and said, book me on another flight. And we did leave about 2 hours late, I think it was. So they kept pushing the plane back. They finally got somebody to come in to make up for the missing crew member. And it was pandemonium. People were cursing and fighting. They had to rebook a lot of people. A lot of people who got canceled from that morning, they were able to turn around and go from standby to having a flight. So once we all got aboard the plane, as late as it was a quiet flight all the way in. But I have to ask you, is this what has happened to the US now that we're all fighting with each other and calling each other filthy names and all this? I have never seen anything like any of this. I told them earlier in the week when I talked to them, said, as you asked if my travel is open, yes, my dates are open. I can go anytime. So this didn't have to happen. One of the things that I find really intriguing about modern society is the fact that when people fly, they no longer fly dressed up. We used to always dress up to fly on the planes, and I wasn't dressed up today. I've got athletic pants on and a shirt, not a particularly fancy one I got at Target, and flip flops. I wasn't exactly fancy myself. So when did we become so angry as a society that everything is life or death and we're going to fight to the death over everything? I'm not getting that, I guess it's because I've lived such a low-key lifestyle here. But I got to witness that again and again and again, and the airline trip was just another example of that. And civility is gone after the crude law. Yeah, yeah. People are so angry and intense. Lisa, they're angry and they're intense. And I've never seen anything like it myself. And I never thought I would. I never hoped to see this kind of stupid stuff happen again. But I know it has. I know so many people have done and said so many things at airports, and just crazy stuff is going on. Sounds. It was an interesting day, small town Jewel. That's one thing I always say is that, I have weird things happen to me sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, okay, God, what is the lesson here that you're trying to tell me? What are you trying to tell me? Besides my own business, and stop reading over the priest's shoulder to see what he's listening to. So there's always that sort of thing going on where I'm always saying, what's the lesson here? And although there's got to be one, I just don't know what it is yet, where we're going with this. But it did make for an interesting flight because I was sitting up there hearing the flight attendants talking among themselves, the people, the ladies running the check-in desk. It was just interesting. I had to send a message to Kelsey of 7-4 crew to ask him if he has ever witnessed this in his time as being a flight, as being a pilot and being a second chair, being a first engineer, whatever. And I'm curious because I know this can't possibly be a common thing. Most airline pilots are pretty well paid, I think, from everything I've observed. Now, lately, they're getting loaded with more and more work hours, and they're all starting to protest. I saw this week that Delta is having a lot of pilots that are threatening to strike. This was not Delta. I like to fly Delta. I like Delta. This was one of their competitors who I used to not like, but now I'm back to liking them again. I don't know. I wouldn't want, all I know is I would not want to be a flight attendant or working in any kind of service job anymore. People have lost their damn minds. So here's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to say this. Try to be kind to somebody tomorrow if you can. I'm going to try, even though I'm probably going to be stuck here doing 50 trillion loads of clothes. As you can see, Stinky is sleeping in the background. This time I made the decision to close off the bedrooms. I'm glad I did. So the cats can only destroy their living room and kitchen. Big, big, smart idea. So yeah, I had an interesting day, small town Jewel. Most definitely. Most definitely. Some of it has to do with anger related to politics, court decisions, inflation. Society seems to be eroding in our time. Everything is imbalanced and in flux. Lisa, I think there's just a lot of general anger. I've talked about before, since I had my stroke last year, I have a lot of problems with just free floating anxiety sometimes. And I have to stop and do those things that I know diffuses that, because it's no fun to walk around that angry all the time, to walk around that, I'm going to fight with everybody. And I try to make it a point to talk to people when I'm on the flight and say, hey, and when I hear somebody talking, I'll just ask them how they're doing. My first flight, nobody wanted any part of that. It's early. I get it. I hadn't had coffee yet either. My second flight, I talked to the guy sitting next to me who's retiring from the military. He just retired from the military, and his wife is retiring. And they're thinking about moving to Costa Rica. And we had this conversation about how everyone is so angry in the United States and how he wants to get away from that. All I can say, more and more people I've talked to are doing this. Jim has talked to so many people, my husband, on his trip to Montana. And yeah, so I'm trying to do what I can to guide people who I'm talking to, including this guy who's a lot farther down the pike than most people as far as leaving the US. Most of us are from some mixture of bloods, not native to America. I have some Native American blood, but I have a lot of other things. Our relatives left wherever they were from because various things had just gotten really sucked too badly. And I think that we're going to see that with the US now. I think people are going to start leaving in droves. It's interesting to see how different countries are handling this and how few of them are are dealing with quite this level of anger that we're dealing with in the US. And some of the things are just unbelievable. It was one of the things I was reading in my Vanity Fair magazine today about Anthony Fauci, who I've always looked up to. He is the director of the Asthma and Allergy Foundation that I'm part of, and he's just somebody that I always looked up to. And I know he's treated various people. I know he's trained a couple of doctors that I've gone to through the years. Well, it looks like Fauci and the gang possibly erased some data about the origins of COVID. They were talking about that in this Vanity Fair article. And when you get where you can't trust anybody and anything coming out of anybody's mouth these days, what do you do? My husband and I have talked about moving to El Salvador. His family has land and businesses there. I don't want to stay here much longer. Heather, I can understand that. And El Salvador would be a good choice. I know some people say that there's a lot of violence and stuff. There may be in certain areas, but I understand certain areas of El Salvador are just wonderful. We had a mass pandemic shutdown. Makes sense we're having a mass anxiety attack. Mental health crisis everywhere. You were exactly right, Lisa. Mental health crisis. And I think we're going to have to step back and take a deep breath and just, what is it that Jimmy Buffett song I love says? Breathe in, breathe out, move on. I think we're going to have to breathe in, breathe out, move on. I don't see any other way around this. And that's the bad thing about anxiety. There's no easy way through it. And the same thing with anger. You just have to work your way through it. What that means for society in general, who knows? I just know I am so tired. I am ranting because it's 9:45 where I am here in Costa Rica. I got up at what would have been 1:30 Costa Rican time. So I've been up all those hours. I need to take a shower and go to bed, I think, and quit playing around the computer. But I wanted to tell that story because it was so bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen someone stomp off a flight deck before. The world has just went crazy. There's good and bad everywhere, I guess. I think so. I think so. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go to bed for real this time. Love you.